Taxpayers Association. This is August the 26th. This is a joint meeting of the public and membership. So we only have one agenda. There's some agendas. At the sign-in book, if you need an agenda. See what else. Need to establish a quorum. Do we know if we have a quorum? Gina's on, so we got Gina.
That's 6.
6, good. Okay, we got a quorum. Stu, can you give us the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So like I said, there's agendas back there. Take a look at the agenda. We'll need a motion and a second on the agenda for approval. Gee whiz, I mean, something I was gonna say that we need to do. Does anybody see in the agenda that there's something that hasn't been? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make a motion during the communications reports to go over the situation with the Facebook page and how we can have a presence there in light of circumstances.
So what we'll need to do is under number 9, under Communications Committee, we're gonna just put down talk about social media. That's the add to the number 9. Is there anything more business wise that you guys are aware of that we, other than Kevin? Sometime during the meeting, I'll probably come up with something, but I'll have to use my president's authority to squeeze it in. But right now, I think it was something to do with what you and I talked about, but I can't remember. When I say I'm pointing to Ken Calhoun, for those of you that are not here. A motion by the board member. Actually, it could be by anybody. But anybody that's a member.
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Carol. Second,
I second it.
who was that? Stu? Okay. Stu seconds it. We have a motion to accept the agenda with Kevin's ad for number 9. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody against? Okay. Thank you. Note that Gina said aye. Any abstentions? None noted. So the agenda is approved. Okay. My comments, I even typed them in here. This was because Ken Calhoun did this great article in the newsletter, and I had to make reference to it in my president's comments. El Dorado County kids are returning to school. This week's newsletter emphasizes sharing. Therefore, today's meeting is dedicated to members commenting on the El Dorado County issues. Comments will be short and concise and consistent within the Taxpayers Association's responsibility. So therefore, I don't want us to go off on something that has nothing to do with the Taxpayers Association. It should be pertain to the Taxpayers Association. So when we get down to item number 13, new business, then we'll share comments. It's going to be about 30 minutes, so it'll be the primary portion of our meeting. So that's my comments. Secretary's report, temporary appointment for the meeting. Mary said that she would be the secretary for the meeting today. Thank you, Mary. Approval of the minutes, Carol. you set out, just explain what you did this time.
I sent out the meetings to all the minutes of the August 19th meeting to all of the directors. Basically, there was, secretary report was approved. Gave a balance to the treasurer's report. Bylaws committee gave a presentation, and that pretty much summarizes the rest of the discussion on committee report. That was about it.
Okay, thank you very much. That was the summary of the minutes. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second? Ken?
Yes.
Okay. We got a motion and a second. Kevin and Ken. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Abstentions? Hearing none. Minutes approved. Treasury report, there is no change in our balance since from the last meeting.
How much is in there?
86, so right around 8,600. That was from last meeting. Bylaws committee, go ahead, Gina.
There's nothing to report on the bylaws. We're done with the bylaws. We're working on the policies and procedures, nothing to state at this point.
On both of those, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Any questions on the number 7 bylaws committee report? She says there's no change. The bylaws have been approved and signed and posted. And then the policies and procedures still under construction.
Under review. Yeah.
And review and construction. So that takes care of 7 and 8. Number 9, communications committee. We'll start with, did you have anything, Chair? Ken, did you have anything you wanted to say on the communications?
Not right now.
Okay, so we'll go with Kevin. Kevin's comment on talking about the social media.
So yeah, to just briefly summarize, the TPA Facebook page that has been in use for at least a few years now, I'm not sure exactly how long, we are locked out of. As you may recall from previous discussion, former Secretary Todd White apparently blocked myself and Lee. As of this moment, the individuals are trying to reach out to him to work through the situation, including our president, have been unfruitful. So we are at the point of having to decide if we just want to make a new Facebook account or a new Facebook page rather, and just start fresh. And that way we can be live streaming to Facebook again and have that public visibility, which may be the most prudent course, although at that point we still need to address the fact that the old page will still exist. And it will essentially be an impersonation of an organization situation. So I don't know exactly what the best course of action is to address the old page. Setting up the new one is fairly easy, but that's the situation that we're in at the moment.
I have a question, and that is there a way, and I don't do Facebook, by the way, so is there a way that we can capture the email addresses of people that have accessed our Facebook page? Does anybody know the answer to that? Because my understanding is that there's been about 300 or 400 emails that have accessed our Facebook page. And I just wondered, is there any way to capture those email addresses?
I don't know about email addresses, and I'm not super savvy when it comes to the nuts and bolts of Facebook and organization page. I believe there's at least some metrics that you can access as far as what user accounts on Facebook have visited the page. But without access to the account, we don't have any.
Okay, if there's any way to capture those, if we can talk to Todd White and get those email addresses, that would be great. We could send them out an
an explanation and refer them to the newsletter, sign them up for the newsletter. But if not, I'm all for moving forward and, you know, creating a new Facebook page or taking a serious look at whether we have the resources to continue to do a Facebook page. Because if it isn't constantly updated, what value really is it?
Okay, Carol?
If any of you are good friends with Todd White, could you use your influence and have him give us the access to our Facebook account? Would be appreciated.
Why is he still involved?
Why are we still involved?
Why is he still involved?
Well, the rumor is that he wants to start his own Republican Taxpayers Association. So if we leave it, as Kevin said, there could be ramifications to that, because then he would take over under the guise of us and promote something new.
So he would sabotage us.
Yes,
He created the original one, which is why he was able to do this. So Andy gave the keys, so to speak, to myself and Lee, but Todd, as the creator, was still associated. So he decided that it was worth his time to go and block us. And so
Okay.
that's where a new page would not have any
So,
association.
so let
Well, let
me,
me
okay,
ask
no,
this.
no, wait a second. Since I was the last one that attempted to communicate with him by text, he had communicated with me on a Board of Supervisors meeting comment that I had made a couple weeks ago. So I knew that he was connected with me in terms of back and forth. It wasn't like I hadn't heard from him for months, as it was on a couple of other things. But in this case, I communicated with him because I knew that link was there, and he did not respond.
okay, well, let me.
Now, hold on a second,
Well, I'd
Carol.
like to expand my presentation before you interrupted it.
No, because I think what I want to hear is more of what the case is in my mind at this level. My comment has to do with a lot of what we're saying is speculation. It's really good speculation, because obviously there is some reason why Kevin and Lee can't be on, they're blocked. Now, others can use it. Ken, if you were a Facebook person, you could go in there and there it is. You could go in there and make a comment. You could go in there and look at prior meetings, Zoom meetings. Now, essentially, I've looked at it, and with the exception of maybe a Melody Lane comment or something like that, there's very little commenting going back and forth. It generally is Zoom. That's been taken away from us. So you're correct in your thoughts and your ideas. Carol, now,
Can I finish?
yeah, you can go ahead and add in.
I've looked into it further and talked to other individuals who have had that problem in other organizations. They suggested, which they had done, is gone to the district attorney and present our problem and have the district attorney intervene, and their problem was taken care of. So I'm looking for solutions.
Well, no, I understand. And Carol, your solutions are pretty dramatic sometimes.
So yeah, we got rid of Melody right now.
Okay. We haven't seen her, but she might be listening in right now, so be careful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm saying to you, this organization, that the discussion is really a good one because it's happened to us. But back to what Ken said. If we don't need it really anymore, because we worked around it and we have Zoom available in some form, is it available to somebody who doesn't have a meeting? How do they get to see the past Zoom?
So now that Andy gave me the credentials for the YouTube account for the organization, I'm gonna upload the last few that we recorded. So at least we'll have that access.
Now, is there a cost to anybody to use YouTube?
No.
Okay,
Why don't we use Rumble? It's a lot easier.
It's-
We can, yeah.
There's a couple of ways. YouTube has been the go-to product app that's been tied to the organization. Anything's possible. Anybody additional? Mary?
That
I
very
was just
profound.
curious, if we do create a second Facebook page, how would you differentiate that from the original? Because we're still talking taxpayers association.
I think that's actually the bigger issue. Us being locked out of the existing one is kind of a technical matter, a little internal squabble, but when there's two Facebook pages, again, we are a nonprofit organization duly constituted. And then we have one that is essentially an imposter. And I don't know how that plays out, like if the legality of that. You know, because then we run the risk of, you know, we don't have any control over what those communications are. You could put something out there that's, you know, wildly obscene, and we would kind of bear the brunt of that. That's, to me, the bigger problem that doesn't get fixed by creating a new page.
But Carol's solution, that at some point we make a determination that we're being harmed. And then we go to someplace like the district attorney. We could go to the grand jury and ask them to take it up. Just because you ask doesn't mean they will, but at least there's
You need to
different.
file a complaint first.
But,
Then we'll look
oh
at
yeah,
it
you,
unless
no,
it's-
exactly, Mary, you're right. You need to file a complaint some way. Okay, this was just to give you bullets of what's going on. You wanted to, did you want an action on your item that you added, or could we wait a week or?
Yeah, the only thing would be if we want to make a motion to create a new page, if we're kind of leaving the old one behind and we're pretty set on that, but otherwise, that would be the only thing.
Okay, I would like us to wait at least till after Labor Day. That's another thing that we wanted to comment on it that I couldn't remember was, we won't be meeting next Monday because it's Labor Day.
Oh,
And I know people are gonna be disheartened
right.
and just feel like they wanna drive here and have breakfast. They can still do that. Denny's will be open, but we won't be here. Okay, Carol,
One last comment.
Yeah.
You can name the organization as an official site of the Taxpayers Association. So
okay,
that was kind of separated out. a little
all right.
Well, the new logo will also help separate it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an important thing too. Okay, so that, excuse me?
Brian,
Oh, Brian DeBerry.
Chris Payne, why can't we just make a new Facebook page? I mean. If
Yeah.
you're on Facebook, you can create another page.
Yeah,
Why don't we just do that?
well, that's what we're proposing to do.
Okay.
But we're not taking any action today. Bruce,
So my comment, as you've been discussing it with interactions with the old account manager, is have you given him a deadline of action? I haven't heard it.
Okay.
And so a deadline of action implies that you are going to do certain actions after that deadline if he doesn't respond. And those things you can determine what you want to do, but just talking to him and waiting for a response is not a good method of communications. Because you haven't given a deadline to what actions you're going to do as a result of his failure of one or the other.
and it's that point, which I was gonna look up my last, okay. On Friday, August the 16th. At 8:19 AM, so it was a morning text. I said. I understand that you still have control of the taxpayer's Facebook account. Andy took himself off the account, so he can't make administrative changes. If you do have control, see, I'm saying I don't know. Somebody does. I says, if you do have control, please put me as president on the account. So therefore, I'm not asking for Lee, but, or Kevin. I'm asking as the president of this organization. I don't believe you can go anything higher organizationally to do anything more than what I did.
You can't.
Carol,
You make an official letter. And in it you state the situation as you observe. You're requesting information, and I agree with Bruce, you have to put a time frame on it. So many business, 5 business days, and you should be able to hand that over to you. You formalize it.
Yeah.
So that if we
Yeah.
make a complaint further up the line,
Yeah.
we'll show documentation of what we've done.
okay.
Take a page out of Melody's book and serve up an affidavit of truth and.
That's right, and then spread it all over the county.
I wanted to laugh today. That's what, so that was good. That was a lot of humor right there. Good job.
We did have a comment.
You got a comment from Gino? Hey,
Gina said Todd is the chair of El Dorado County Republican Party, and I would think this type of behavior would be unacceptable. His members might be able to help with the situation.
okay, so even though Melody has said numerous times that I'm registered as a Democrat, I'm actually registered as a Republican. How that happened was a couple of years ago, DMV, no, I'm gonna tell you. DMV, where you can register for a party, gave me that option. And I took it. Why? Because I'm a fiscal conservative. Not because I like a particular person, candidate wise, but I believe that the essence of being a Republican is closer in my mind. And I made the change. Now,
This is not a political group.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. I was just correcting the misconception. I am not profoundly interested in talking about it. Thank you.
So what you've said so far, what's been said before, doesn't address the issue of putting a deadline and having a course of action, which will affect him
Yeah,
or that face page and or the face page
yeah,
because of actions that the group will take
okay,
after the deadline is set.
okay. So I'm saying next Monday is Labor Day, we're not meeting. The following Monday that we do meet, we'll make a decision on this. And I'll go with whatever it is. In fact, I promise you, during this next 2 weeks, that I will draft up something that I can then present to everybody when we come back. That's my answer to your question.
Chris, Chris, it's Laurel. I can't find my chat to type something in. I just want to say that 5 days to hand over anything from Facebook is not reasonable. 5 days for a requested response is reasonable, but dealing with Facebook can take much longer than 5 days. And Debbie's not muted. That's all.
Okay, I'm just saying in response to Bruce's question. Anything more on this item? I'd like to go on. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 10. Fire committee, Pat Dwyer's not here. Let me just give you a quick update on what's happening in fire. The OWAPR, the Office of Wildfire Preparation and Resilience, is currently in place and is working in conjunction with the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council, which is the banner group of all of the associate fire safe councils in El Dorado County. The two of them are working in conjunction with the countywide wildfire preparation or plan. That has to be, it's a physical document that is done, I believe, every 5 years. And will go to the Board of Supervisors for final approval. That process now, last week on Wednesday, we had a Zoom in the afternoon of about 2.5 hours. Talking about bringing that to the public and then sharing the concepts with them about what you get when you get a CWPP for a county. The complexity of wildfire is huge. There are so many participants now. We're talking federal, state, and local. Our Office of Emergency Services through the sheriff. Others of the fire protection districts. Paul Gilchrist is here. He is a board member of the county fire. There's just so many things going on that you gotta keep up. And you as property owners, some of you, most of you, should realize that our place in this discussion is very important. It's time to be able to participate. So I'll try to keep you up. Pat Dwyer will try to keep you up. That's why we're continuing to have the fire committee report. No, let's go ahead.
There's a public hearing scheduled for the 17th of September on the changes that are being proposed by the insurance commissioner. I told Pat and the other members of the fire committee that I will be attending that meeting.
Okay.
And after that, I'll bring everybody up to speed here as to what happened.
And please do it as part of the fire committee's report.
Right.
Okay. Thanks for good information. This is Bruce, go ahead.
Well, that piece of information should go into the newsletter. The date.
The 17th of September. Ken, is that possible to have a little blurb about
I can send you.
Send it to me.
about it, Ken.
these two are also working together through the communications committee. Hank's on the communications
If
committee.
anyone has any information, either send me a link or condense it to 200 or 300 words and send it to me, email it to me.
I've added, that's the fire committee report. Number 11, community projects, and then I put in parentheses, transportation committee. We have a new, and I'm the chair of it, the community projects committee, which essentially is water, sewer, if I find out there's a project going on related to sewer, anything of significance that I feel like needs to be shared because of the relationship of the taxpayers to these projects. Some of them are very big projects, including some of the subdivisions that are coming up that are being proposed. There's a one on Green Valley Road called Generations. There's two south of 50 at Bass Lake Road called Marble Valley or Village of Marble Valley, and also Lime Rock. They're both individual projects. And then there's Town and Country, which is the hotels at the north side of Bass Lake, plus many more projects. For today, I just wanted to let you know, because I noted here, Community Projects Committee, that's what it's all about. Carol?
Can we get Abercrombie in to speaker, the manager of EID?
Carol has said, I assume we can. Carol, we haven't had anybody who has been talking to him. But yes, he's an important one. Remember, we had Rebecca from the water agency
Yes.
already this year. That would be a good way to say it. We had Rebecca. Now we want to go to the largest water purveyor, which is El Dorado Irrigation District.
Well, they had a grand jury report on EID, and EID did not respond to the grand jury.
How long ago was that?
Remember, Mary?
No?
Okay, well, I never remember, but they did a grand jury report on EID. EID did not respond and ran the clock out until the complaint just resolved. So we need to really talk to Jim Abercrombie from EID.
Well, here's another thing that's coming up. You guys were going into an election cycle, and I'm not making any political comments about it, but there are different people who are running. Remember earlier this year, we did the people who were running candidates. Do you want to do a candidates on EID?
Yeah. You
Okay,
should, because it's a major.
well, no, I need to hear you guys collectively.
Yeah, I hope that you would want to listen to somebody.
Does anybody not like the idea of having DID candidates come and visit us? as
I wrote
speakers?
you that memo about
You did.
having that Brad Popejoy come in.
Brad, he's running for,
Yeah.
EID.
EID.
what is, and they don't call them, district. They call them,
There's
They,
districts, that-
they do have it, he's for District
we
3.
have 5 districts.
Okay.
The opposite of the county.
what is that?
Well, the county district 1, 2, 3, you know where they all are.
Yeah.
EID is just the other way around, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, okay,
So there's 3 up for election. That's
okay,
the majority of people.
okay, so everybody, is there anybody,
I make a motion to invite all the candidates from the ID.
okay, it doesn't take a motion to do that. We'll just go ahead and schedule that in. Now, how many weeks do we have left before? Does anybody know?
There's a lady running for 3, I think, or 1.
Okay, and I know, Paul Penn in District 3.
And Laurel made a comment, districts 1 and 3, 5 up for election.
Okay, so we'll get that. Now, would you want them all together? Or would you want to do like we did with the Board of
I'd like to
Supervisors?
separate them, because there's some important issues facing our water issues in El Dorado County.
Okay,
Better do it quick. So I had a meeting with Jim Abercrombie about a month ago or so. And just in casual conversation, I asked him, I said, you know, Jim, I've been telling people about water use for a long time, and I use 3 basics. One is that 50% of the water that comes off this hill goes out to the ocean. 47% of the water that comes off this hill goes to agriculture, and 3% of the water that comes off this hill is going to housing and people. And in any case, he said I was absolutely right about that, or very close to being absolutely right. And he says, you got one thing wrong. You said that, you know, we're short of water. He says, we're using roughly 33 units of water. I don't know exactly what he said in terms of whether they're acre feet or whatever. We're using 33 of them. We have 66 of those available units to us in this county. So this county is not short of water.
But
One
we can
thing
sell it
of course they can sell it.
instead of giving it to houses.
Carol,
I'm
please.
sorry.
Okay, continue.
That's okay. I like being interrupted.
Okay.
I'm used to it. I'm a married man.
Okay.
But, in any case,
We'll snip that out for your wife.
the whole point is that, you know, we have plenty of water here. And it's all like, under things like, 1914 water and all that kind of stuff.
Water rights.
Yeah, water rights. So that's just the numbers. Please feel free to use them because you can confirm that I was correct or closer to correct.
Okay.
Put that information. Thank you.
Is it possible for you to contact Jim and ask, say that we had a meeting and we would like to have him come? Since
Sure.
you talked to him?
Sure.
Okay,
And Laurel followed up with the candidate names, Paul Penn, Nick Russell, Chuck Mansfield, Brad Popejoy, and Tiffany Casey Moore.
okay, so Bruce,
Well, I have a question. I belong unfortunately to this neighborhood. I don't know, it's a site.
Next door.
Probably you all do too.
Yeah, next door.
We get neighbors from all kinds of places that aren't even close,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
there was just recently a big to-do on that. About water rights, how the water is increasing and, you know. It's costing me 2, 3 to 5 times more water than it did last year. So this is a topic that apparently rings true for lots of people in our area. And it should. It's something that we should, again, in the newsletter, promote that kind of comment to try to recruit more viewers and interested parties. And with that information that was just given, makes me wonder, why are we buying, you know, why is that water usage increase done the way it was done when you have so much water that's not being used?
I have an answer for you.
Development.
You are billed by EID every 2 months. So when you get a bill for $400, let's say, that's for 2 months. That's $200 for 1 month. But then that bill is severed in half, roughly in half, between sewer and water. So your water usage might be $112 and your sewer would be $88. So the fact that they get a bill for 400, and that was, I watched that on Nextdoor. They didn't have an understanding as to how many, months this bill was covering, nor what it covered. They just went,
Well, my water bill, I have a septic and my water bill was like $300. And it was
So it's
gone up $100 from 2-month period to this 2-month period.
Okay, all right, you guys. We're actually in item 13 right now. We're sharing comments about the county issues. So essentially, when we get down to 13, we'll just go with any new items. Because these items that you're talking about are the items of which we wanted to talk about today.
Revisit them.
And this is stuff that is very important, as you all have alluded to in your comments. This is our life. We're living it every day and we're dealing with the cost of living here in El Dorado County. So let's move on to item 12, unfinished business. We just finished up 13 community projects. Filing of the Secretary of State report. Back in March, there was an erroneous filing of the Secretary of State's report for our nonprofit, Taxpayers Association of El Dorado County.
By whom?
That was signed by Todd White, with the parties being Andy Nevis as executive director. As you know, we don't have an executive director. I'm the president still today, until you guys decide not to have me. The second person was Gay Williard as the CFO, Chief Financial Officer. We don't have a Chief Financial Officer position. We have a treasurer. And then Todd as, I believe, secretary or executive secretary, whatever it was. Now, Carol, I think, did you bring it up, Carol? Or
What?
the fact that this had been filed? Or was it?
Oh, we ran across. it
Or was this with
accidentally,
Susan?
And I presented it to you.
Yeah,
And
so anyway, Gina's been involved. She helped me find the path. In fact, the path is that you have to file another report. Essentially, when you file a report, the report's good until you file the next report. And you can file that report at any time that the organization deems that there needs to be clarity on who's in charge and in what form. So we still need to file the Secretary of State's report. I went in there and they asked for a physical address, not only a mailing address, which they asked for, but they asked for a physical address. And it was, I believe, one of the addresses that Todd used to live at. Now, knowing that, then I thought, why would a person, an individual, want to have his physical address in this report for the organization? Should it be the physical address of the report? This is my friend, you guys. He's been looking for us.
Okay. I've been lost.
This is Daniel Ramirez.
Hi, nice to meet you all. Hi.
Here, I even got you water.
All right.
And here's your agenda, and here's your menu. She'll be in here in a few minutes. He is a former Department of Transportation employee, which you guys can go boo. But he
he's not Raphael.
he lives in San Diego.
Yeah,
Nobody
San Diego.
feels except-
And he has a house up here that he has had since he moved up here.
Yeah,
And he's my friend. And he was supposed to be here at what?
7:30. I heard fairground. but-
Okay, all right. So we're in our agenda right here. So on the agenda, I have establishing a revised physical address, an 1848 lease agreement that I sent out to all the board members. Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay. It says essentially that there are these mail drop suites at 515 Main Street. So essentially, if you have an address, it would be 515 Main Suite. And there's this one called 209. There's like 10 of the suites that are dedicated to not people who have a office there, because theirs would be 100 series, but it's for mail drop people. It's a physical address. Now, I have been told, Chris, you cannot get involved with this because you're vice president of 1848, which stands for El Dorado Gold 1848. That's the nonprofit. And I said, look I'm not benefiting. If you don't want to do this, you don't want to do it. But I'm thinking if you're sensitive to what I'm saying, an individual's address, like Todd's, versus a actual physical address for this organization, we would still keep our mailbox, P.O. Box 2023, Placerville. That's where our mail would go. The only time then that this mailbox would be used is if it's from the Secretary of State or anyone else who we're filing a report with. So therefore, this box would have to be checked periodically. And I'm willing to do that. But if there's a conflict of interest here, that you guys feel, no, we don't want to do this because we don't feel like we can do it because you're involved, then I'm sorry, if that's the way life is, that's the way it is. But I believe it's a good idea. And I believe I sent it to the board members for them to review it. Bruce, go ahead. Okay. It's $15 a month. It's 6 months. So that would be 15 times 6 is $90. And $35 for the key. Which is a key deposit because we've had some experience. People don't like to return the keys. And then you gotta have somebody come in and pay to change the box out. So what is that? $90 plus 35 is 125 for the first 6 months. Key deposit, if you went another 6 months, would stay. You wouldn't have to pay any more money. You just paid $90. Or you could pay for a year. It just says minimum of 6 months, $35 key deposit. And the box address would be 515 Main Street, Suite 109.
Laurel commented, which I think is the same thing you're referring to, is the UPS store has a physical address when you rent a box.
Right.
So I went to Mountain Mail. And they say $12 behind the counter. Meaning you go up to the counter when they're open and you get your mail across the counter. This would be an actual mailbox with the key. So essentially you can do it at any time. Check the mailbox. And it's $15 versus $12. Now also Mountain Mail had a $24 box that you could go to that would be similar to this kind of situation. So yes, there are competitors out there that are doing the same thing. The $15 was set because we wanted to make it financially within the same framework of scale amount.
Don't the Taxpayer Association already have a mailbox?
We have one in Placerville.
Okay, let me say this again. We have a post office box 2023. That is where our mail goes.
That's in a US.
And that's in a US Postal Service facility.
Yeah.
In Pacific Street, Sacramento Street corner. That's where I go get all the mail. I have a key, check the mail, And a lot of junk mail. We get very little mail. But go ahead, Kevin.
So if we're going to start the new one, I mean, just so we're not double paying, I mean, we could just have all of the mail sent to the new suite number. If we're gonna keep it in the long term.
That's a very good point, because I thought about that. I thought we just went through all the bylaw stuff and changes, and we put the physical or the postal service address in there. Do we want to go back through and change that?
It's other
And I
filings-
thought,
It's other filings you have to worry about that have the old address.
yeah, and the address, let me just say, used to be Post Office Box 13, Placerville. And guess what? Somehow we lost that 13. And they ended up, either we didn't pay or whatever happened. We lost 13 and we ended up with 2023. So Carol, do you know any story about how we went from 13 to 2023?
Yeah, we were there trying to get back into the 2013, they locked us out, and the person who could unlock it was not there, and they said they did not know when they were going to be back. So we did an executive decision,
Okay,
we'll take a new box.
2023. But that's our post office box. That's not a physical address.
Right,
You only get a physical address from about mail or what is it? Who said
Independent.
UPS or one of the other people who have those available, or Eldorado Gold 1848. Any more questions, Mary?
Not a question, but a comment, but I agree with Kevin. Rather than double pay, I just suggest that you use the first 6 months and maybe look at how it's working and then transition it where all the mail is going to one box versus 2 boxes.
And I would agree with that, that idea. It isn't anything though that we would do now. So really, I'm asking for you guys to consider what we need to do now. In order to file the Secretary of State's report, I need a physical address. Therefore, that's the reason why I'm coming to you today. Carol?
I believe that the filing for the Secretary of State happens once a year,
Every 2 years.
every 2 years. We can easily, this is a thought, you can easily have an officer give their physical address. And we don't have to file again until 2 years. And then you eliminate that problem. If you get rid of the post office box in Placerville, then you have to go through all of the filings that are on file with the IRS and all the other agencies that we're involved with, and you have to change those.
So obviously this is debatable. There's different people with different ideas.
Sure.
I would just say then, rather than taking action, which I thought you would take today, yes or no, we'll delay taking any action until a couple weeks from now. There's no hurry in my mind. So let's think about what we've talked about.
And Laurel commented, said, I'd suggest it be independent of 1848.
Okay, she does?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we just dispense with that one. New business, sharing comments. Is there any other topics that you believe the taxpayers need to discuss today that is, hasn't been discussed already?
Well,
Mary?
there's a lot of information being put out via the news media about the new Costco project.
Okay,
And on the news, there's folks that are opposed and there are folks that are in a support of.
supportive.
So my question is, where do we stand as an organization?
Okay. I had in the minutes here, and somebody told me that maybe I ought to change my my comment. I said, comments will be short, concise, and consistent within the Taxpayer Association responsibility. I had originally mission statement. If you fundamentally go back to what our mission statement says, we don't get involved with topics that are not really ours to be involved with. Carol, go ahead.
Well, I appeared before the, what commission? Ag Commission? On,
Planning?
no, this was Ag Commission, and they were going through the steps on Marble Valley and Lime Rock.
Oh, okay.
And what apparent, which this falls in the venue of the Taxpayers Association, is the cost to the taxpayers beyond the borders of the project. It appears that EID is, and EID should be in this mix. EID is beefing up their infrastructure at the cost of the ratepayers for these other projects that are coming online. The ratepayers are paying for that infrastructure, the developers are not. Lime Rock and Marble Valley, we're not involved in the zoning issues. But when it comes out to the Bass Lake Interchange and all of the transportation structure feeding this, including the project for Costco, including the project for Mo Johnson on the corner of Bass Lake, all of those extend
Mohannan?
out into
You
the
mean Mo,
venue.
you meant Mo Mohannan.
Okay, whatever, yeah, yes. It extends out into the venue of the taxpayers and what it's costing us to beef up our infrastructure for these developments. And whether or not the taxpayers should enter into that arena and say, you pay your way. In other words, and it's not a delayed pay. It's paid as that project goes on the ground, and you're paying to do the road infrastructure. So that our tax dollars that have been designated toward roads go to the surrounding roads that are in really bad. And so that's kind of where we can go with that. Same with water. EID is selling water across county line, and the ratepayers are paying for that. We have a lot of water. We should be selling that water, not giving it to development. We should be selling that water and taking that money and paying down our loan structure in EID. So, so this is where we have some balance that we need to look into. There's two other issues. The county charter, next year, the Board of Supervisors gave permission and decided to put on the ballot 504. And if you don't know what 504 is, look it up, because we talked about it a lot in here. And it has to do with tying our sheriff's department into the,
Proposition A.
highway patrol in their calculation of their salaries, which is gonna cost the taxpayers money. We want to put it on the ballot. And we need an organization that will go out and campaign for that, because that's costing us a lot of money. When you have a sheriff retiring at $16,000 a month in retirement, that's a lot of money. Do you guys get that? I don't think you have that in your pocket. And so we need to look at what they're being paid. The second is our budget. And the county budget was in a deficit this year. We need to go in and look at what they call a CAFR, the comprehensive analysis of the county budget. And it's separate from our budget that we see. We think everything revolves around that. This is where the big money is. The county has money stowed away that they invest and do all that, and it's called in a document called a CAFR. Comprehensive annual somebody budget report, but then anyway.
Who
CARF,
who prepares it?
county prepares it,
Okay.
but this is where the big money is. And this is what we ought to be looking at to find out what they do with our tax dollars and how they're spending it, where they're putting them. Because they always come to us and plead poverty and want to raise fees, assessments, penalties, and all of that to make up their deficit. So we need to be looking at that. So that's some heavy stuff.
Carol. I second that motion. So those items, as well as many others, should be in newsletters, should be in any kind of version of communication to the public, general public, because all of those items have an interest in the general public by somebody. And that's what we want to do is use that flavor of what is the public responsive to in order to promote what we're trying to do here, which is identify and protect the taxpayers of this county.
And I believe if you phrase it the way you just phrased it, Bruce, it meets the intent of the mission statement. There is ways, though, that you could phrase it where it might not meet. So we gotta be real careful.
Well, Ken's the expert, that's why he's,
Ken? Oh, Ken's the expert.
Yeah.
Ken, they got you now as the expert in all of this.
I'm on a
Oh,
wall. I have no
Steve
idea.
Ferry, you got your hand up.
You know, one of the things, Bruce, that we need to make sure of is, I hear the comments from Carol. And one of the comments she made was that when we sell water, the EID sells water, that somehow that money just goes somewhere, but it doesn't go to the ratepayer. Well, it goes to the general fund, I believe, and it keeps the rates from actually going up even further. So for instance, the EID has $100 million project going on Latrobe Road in Eldorado Hills to expand the water treatment base down there. And do we need that? Yes, if we have more development, you do need it. And so each of it, and like Carol, obviously, we can say Carol doesn't like development. Okay, fair enough. I don't have that same fear of people coming into El Dorado County to change the nexus here of who and what we are. But the point is that we need real information before we put it out with our taxpayer name on it. So we get any of those things that were mentioned, need to have
So,
data to support it before we put it in our news.
So-
To have somebody come and jam it down our throat.
so you guys related to this topic, which fits very nicely in the agenda. We're sharing information. If we bring in those candidates,
There's some questions.
wouldn't there be questions there associated with these candidates that we might learn?
And they might learn.
And they might learn from us. I think that's the first step before we start communicating a position, is to kind of flush it out. And what a way to do it. Excellent job, Barry.
And I'm not against development, but then we can pay their way.
I'm just checking.
I don't wanna pay for them, but they pay their own way.
I brought in before the meeting, something that you brought up last week, and it never really got covered, but I gave everybody a handout. And I. Who is now the county administrative officer. She was at step 4 at $279,406. They just bumped her to stage 5, but they give no, in the memorandum, they do not give any figure of what she makes now. And this memorandum has questions, all this yellow, about additional pay or severance package. This is the kind of stuff that I think, besides what Carol was talking about, this is county tax money, and we're running at a deficit. This is, to me, grossly in the face of all the people out there that are struggling to pay this, and we have 100 people more making this kind of salary. It's ludicrous when the average median of this county is about $80,000. I'm sorry, this is just too far over the top, and she will probably get this retirement. And besides that, tied into what Carol just said, she is also tied into the California Highway Patrol. So if they get a pay raise, she's gonna get another pay raise.
Gets it wrong.
And that's wrong. That is totally wrong and in the face of every taxpayer in this county. As far as I'm concerned.
When did she get it?
And you,
People are struggling out there.
His letter.
These people aren't struggling. I mean, they can pay off their house in 5 years with this kind of salary.
what Brian's talking about is essentially what was on the agenda last Tuesday was this item. And this item was approved. There was no public comment on it, not one that I recall. So that's the state of our county government and its approach to business. Carol, you know because you've been in front of the board, that sometimes they don't listen. Now,
Understood.
I know in this case that they met the letter of the law. You can't say that they illegally did this because they did it legally. The question is, you here as a board of directors, which then control what I say at the board of supervisors, have to look in advance as I try to for those items that are going to be of importance to us. Two parts of this that I think need to be commented on. First of all, when they talk about step increases, they have their master compensation listed on the county website. That is, you can go into any position in the county and it'll have a 5-step sequence of what they'll make. So they've put that in the agenda item. It says effective July 1st, 2023 at step 4 of the salary range, and approve this memorandum of agreement between them and her. Because she's what's called a pleasure appointee. She has no civil service protection. That means they can go into closed session, determine that they're not gonna have her anymore, and they can fire her any given Tuesday. It's that part of it that you have to be clear on, all of you, as you go forward with whether you want to take a position on something or not take a position on something. Second thing, Carol, they also have what's called a budget policy. And it's a policy that has been approved by them. And they have to look at their budget policy, and every year when they approve the budget by July 1st, because we're a fiscal year county, that is July 1st through June 30th. Every year they have to look to their budget policy to make sure that they amend it, or excuse me, either they meet it or they need to make an exception by calling it out as to, oh, we're not going to be able to meet this budget policy this year, and what the reason is. They have to make a finding. So it's a complex process. I believe Lee Tannenbaugh is kind of our person who's been responsible for following the county's budget on an annual basis. And all of this needs to be considered in terms of the discussion. Carol.
It appears that our county is like peeling an onion. It goes from layer to layer to layer. We have discovered incompetency, because I sat through a planning commission meeting this last Thursday and watched how the staff had screwed up a document that prolonged the application for finalization, and then watched how one planning commissioner bent himself into a pretzel trying to figure out how to oppose the project. It is legal. They jumped through all the hoops and done everything that they can, and it will produce a major amount of taxpayers' money in this county that they don't quit, so they can stop dinging us every time they turn around, or we won't need more rooftops. The other issue is the Georgetown Airport that falls under the venue of this CAO, and they cut down hundreds of wrong trees along the runway. How do you cut down the wrong trees? And that shows the sheer incompetence that is coming about in the county. And there's no agency, there's no organization that is watching this, and except us. And I suggest to the chair that they appoint a chairman of these things so that we can delve into. The budget was delved into not last year or this year under Lee Tannenbaum, but the year before in 2022, and it fell over in 2023. And the county charter, which is going to put us into bankruptcy, which the past CAO has said, if we keep going in that direction, this county will be bankrupt. And if we go bankrupt, we as taxpayers are still held responsible for the CalPERS investment. It doesn't go away. The county may have its difficulties, but they're still gonna nail us for CalPERS. So we have some serious things that are happening. This is the only organization in El Dorado County that has as of late, has enough guts to stand up and say, this is wrong and we need to do something about it.
Okay,
So I hope you keep on that venue.
Brian and then Bruce.
I agree with what you said about going through the steps. But there's one thing I disagree with, and that's a lack of constructive public notice. If you don't, you can go out here right now and ask anybody in that restaurant out there if they know about all those steps. And nobody knows. Nobody knows to follow how to pull up those steps. The only thing they do is they put a little bulletin up on the outside of the chambers up there about a day and a half before the meeting, so nobody has a chance to know anything. And
I believe it's 72 hours.
and
What is that, 3 days?
So if it comes out on Saturday,
Okay,
how does somebody working get a chance to
Okay.
comment?
Friday night at 5 o'clock. They published the final agenda item, or final agenda meeting. Final meeting agenda, and they have addendums if there's any change from the when they published it on Wednesday. First publishing 5 o'clock Wednesday. Second publishing Friday, 5 o'clock. Bruce.
So in hearing these last two comments and addressing Steve's comment about what was said earlier, the way you rectify that is you make a statement of hot topics for the county, which we've heard a lot of them, all right, that are interest to the public and to the taxpayer. But then you identify the Taxpayers Association has not made a stand on this or made a statement. That way you get the information out. You don't have to give them detail, but you also identify that the Taxpayers Association may or may not come out with some kind of other follow-up information to make a stand
Yeah.
of support or decline.
Yeah.
But you gotta get the information out.
Yeah.
And that's what is
Okay.
being said. That's what I'm hearing. And
Okay.
if we wait, then it's too late.
So on this topic alone, I wanted to tell you, I've checked the time. It's about 8:40. And I still haven't gone over tomorrow's agenda with you yet. Can we dispense with any more discussion on this sharing and go to the board agenda?
Yeah,
Unless,
I would just like to suggest, if you don't have a speaker for the next meeting, that this be brought up again so it can be, because there's issues and we need to.
so you would like to discuss this further?
Yes, we need chairmen who are interested enough to attack these problems and do some heavy lifting. I know we have, they're reserved here at 9 o'clock, so I know that we're short on time. So I just want to keep people engaged
Okay,
and find out ways to, like Ken said, and Bruce, is to get this information out to the general public.
okay, Ken?
This is a bigger issue, or should be to our organization, and that is that philosophically, we need to, as a group, we need to figure out whether we want it to be an organization of speakers or whether we want to be an organization that looks at key issues like you've brought up and develop positions on those key issues. And when we do develop a position, a unified position or a majority position, a paper, then we can get it published in the newspaper. But this general discussion we're having, that's going no place. And the Taxpayers Association, as some of you have pointed out, is an appropriate vehicle to do that. Develop a position, but not be reactionary. And so I think in the hearing process, my view of the future is perhaps a little more emphasis on developing positions and studying budgets and those items that affect taxpayers, and then taking a position on it.
Now, to your point, I know you want to respond, but to your point, does anybody realize this year, under my position as president, how many times have we taken a position, created a letter, and the letter has been sent? Does anybody have any clue? Take a wild ass.
A couple of
One.
times. Fire district and.
Fire district?
And the one in, CSD and El Dorado Hills,
Cameron Park also.
Cameron Park.
I bet you have
negotiations with.
So there is exactly happening what you just said. And we have been very careful not to get in a position where we're not willing to commit by letter or by our thoughts being communicated. And so I believe, at least this year, we have followed that approach. What were you saying?
I just wish there had been more.
Well,
But I have to rephrase that. We have cleaned house this year. And we have a new bylaws. We're working on the policies and procedures, and those are big events.
it's remarkable.
Besides the two or three letters that we wrote. But let me add to this.
Yeah.
Is that in the
Well, Bruce
past,
still wants to finish his thought.
I want to clarification
Yeah.
of one. Ken, you said published in the newspaper. Are you talking about the newspaper? Or talking about the TPA letter?
Both,
everything,
Both.
everything.
and we need to be on Facebook, we need to.
Then the other comment would be, Carol wants to discuss this, but I think this is a board matter.
Okay,
Discussion.
Yeah.
It should be a board matter so that they can vote and begin the action.
and it's to that point, which I think we need to kind of wrap our hands around this. Today, we had an unusual meeting. Everybody, public, members, board members, everybody are here today.
30 seconds.
Well, can I just, again, let me finish up, and I'm glad you have this. We have taken a position in the past, and particularly last year, that we're here to help government be better. And that means we're here to help the board of supervisors make better decisions. And if we can do studies that help them, give them more poignant and
Okay.
directed information,
Okay.
that's very important, because their weekly documents are
Okay.
that thick. And they cannot go, and
Okay.
they should not be relying completely on their employees to get the information they need.
Okay, Ken.
We have a number of ballot propositions as an example, which the board could take some positions on. Support or oppose coming up in November.
Kevin.
Just to relay Gina's comment, which is we should schedule a working strategy meeting to determine our top items to work on. And from that meeting, we'll have a tentative action plan with committees and interested parties to work on these items. And she guessed 4 as far as how many times we've taken a decision.
Okay, back to you, Bruce. You got anything further? Okay, I'd like to go on to the Board of Supervisors agenda. Okay?
Chris,
Yeah.
can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
What you said earlier about people not knowing what's going on, you can apply
It's
that to
systemic.
just about anything.
Yeah.
Because most people either don't know or don't care, most importantly. And I remember when I joined this group years ago, my big issue was gas tax dollars and how they're being spent. And how they're appropriated, supposed to be appropriated for road conditions, road use, road building, road maintenance. And I said, at the time, I don't think that 100% of those dollars are being used for that purpose. I was never able to figure out whether it was or wasn't. Most people just don't know or they don't care. I suggested we have a, did you know, stand out in the middle of Placerville by the bell tower there once a week and say, did you know this was going on? List 5 things and just let people know about it. If you
Okay.
go out here in the other room, they won't know. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Share it on the Facebook page.
Board of Supervisors.
That's yours.
No, they're listening.
Keep going.
I'm listening.
Don't stall out.
Okay.
All out.
Okay, Board of Supervisors is meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock. It is their meeting before the Labor Day, certainly Labor Day week, they'll be dark. So this is the last meeting before Labor Day. And, it's very short. There is only 12 consent calendar items. Normally, we would see 30. 20, high 20s, 30s, even 40 sometimes. That tomorrow, there's only 12. And so it's very easy to go through them and identify the expenditures. One of them, Carol, is the crossings, a project on Missouri Flat that has a First Amendment to the off-site road improvement agreement. This is between the developer and the county. And so that's item 9 on consent. Also, there has to be reports, and this one's coming from the Department of Transportation. And it's how much money did they spend for it annually on the acquisition of real property. There's a requirement by ordinance that they come in annually, and they're saying acquisitions for the properties. These are usually parcels or pieces of property, total 46,700 through June 30th of 2024. And that's item number 8. There's your standard health and human services contracts. As you know, Health and Human Services is the only agency in the county and has all of the social programs and health programs associated with it. So there's only one Health and Human Services contract. Usually you'll see 4, 5, 6. Let's see. Supervisor Thomas is accepting a donation of a sculpture, which is a positive. The donation being approximately valued at $50,000. And the donation will go at the roundabout in Camino. For those of you that don't know, we have a roundabout in Camino that puts you under Highway 50, adjacent to it, in what we call Camino Heights area. So there's a roundabout, and this will be some type of monument, which will go there by donation. Department matters. There's a newly considered South Tahoe Transit Joint Powers Authority. And so item 13 has to do with the update on the formation of this Joint Powers Authority, or what we call JPA, for South Lake Tahoe Transit. And that'll be to discuss draft concepts. Item 13, Department matters. 9 o'clock is going to be time specific. We have the, for those of you that don't know, we have a resource conservation district, 2 of them. One's called the El Dorado County Resource Conservation District, and the other one's called the Georgetown Divide Resource Conservation District. And they're very much involved with wildfire projects, wildfire prevention projects. And they're going to come to the board, item 14 at 9 o'clock. And then solid waste management's going to come talk about what's the future of solid waste management. And they're going to make a presentation, item 15. So it'll be at 9 o'clock, right after the RCD's report. If somebody wanted to know about solid waste management and the future, which usually gives you a glimpse of what the cost structure might be coming up, but not any action to be taken, just a discussion, it would be item 15 at 9 o'clock. Environmental management is going to talk about solid waste advisory committee report. 10:30, time specific, Parks Division of the Chief Administrative Office is bringing their annual report from the Parks and Rec Commission. So they're annually reporting about what projects they worked on this year. That's 10:30, item 16. And finally, no afternoon items, open forum, and to and froms and CAO's update, all identified for 1 o'clock. Was there any questions, Brian?
My question is, I saw that on the menu on the agenda. Why would anybody donate a $50,000 statue to put in the middle of a roundabout in Camino? I mean, that's just advertising for somebody to come steal it. I mean, how many times have they stole the Indian that sits in front of Raven's Liquor? A half dozen times.
I guess if it was a stonium monument, that's not the same thing as a bronze monument.
That's just, I mean, in the face of all of the debt this county has, they could put the $50,000 into helping somebody. To me, that's just kind of, again, in everybody's face.
Well, this is donated, isn't it?
Yeah, $50,000. The value is
Did she have her hand up?
She doesn't put her hand up. Actually, she does. She does sometimes. Okay.
How many county parks funded and operated by the county are there? Do you have any idea?
Well, typically, they talk about regional parks versus just local parks.
County owned.
Right,
paid for
so
Parks. How many
let's just
are
go through them. We have Lotus Coloma,
there?
Henningsen Lotus
I'm
Park.
with you.
We have South County, Grizzly Flat. We have Pioneer Park.
City Park.
They're proposing one in Diamond Springs by Charlie Brown School. That's under planning and deciding to reconstruct. Is there any more? Oh, there's a Fort Bay Park up in Pelican Heights. That's a county maintained park.
Rotary Park.
Rotary City. Rotary
So
City.
all these paid out of the county general fund?
The ones that are county maintained, yes. Oh, the railroad park in El Dorado. Is a park that's been in place for years. Where the railroad and now it has a dog run that they built, and also a little kids park. It's up by the community hall. That's another one that's county. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, yes, it does.
Okay, we're done. What do you think? We stand adjourned.